was just talking about getting baptized. I'll just tell y'all this. When I was 57 years old, I found out by going to a church and get electric bill paid and get some food. And I filled out the application, and the guy told me I didn't qualify because of my zip code.
Wow.
But then he asked me, he says, well, Mr. Franks, is your mother's name Beverly Franks? I said, yes, sir. He says, well, you were baptized in this church when you were 1 year old. So that inspired me to come up here and get baptized too. So what he was telling me about getting baptized, I'm telling you, what I'm going to share with y'all tonight, you're going to understand. I was an actor the worst kind. I'm not going to share the rest of that poem. But Dwayne knows a little bit about poetry. I know a whole lot about penitentiary. And so I've been in and out of the penitentiary since I was 23 years old. Now I'm 64 in 5 months. Okay, I'm still on parole. Okay, so there's not one phase of this program that you're not going to understand. I mean, you're going to understand every word that I say, because guess what? You know, here's another thing too, folks. My first drug was alcohol, okay? And I loved alcohol. But alcohol led me to a drug called marijuana, okay? And back in the 70s, you know, we call marijuana do your wanna, okay? Because we'd be doing all kinds of crazy stuff when we got on that marijuana. And I enjoyed that crazy stuff. But that crazy stuff led me to other drugs. And those other drugs led me to the penitentiary, okay? And, you know, the good news is one thing about the penitentiary that I got is I got to go to a bunch of groups. I would do anything I could to get out of the dorm for an hour, okay? If I could go to NA, AA, CA, church, college, whatever I could do to get out of the penitentiary or out of my cell for an hour, I would go do it. Here's the bad news, y'all. We can go to any group that we want to go to and we can listen. You know, there's a big difference from listening to the steps and working the steps, okay? And it took me until I was an old man before I decided to start walking the steps. I'm not going to go into details, but yes, I started alcohol when I was 7, marijuana when I was 11, started snorting cocaine when I was 15, had a needle in my arm 2 weeks before I turned 18. And that needle didn't go away until I was 59 years old, okay? That needle did not go away. No matter how much time I went and did in the penitentiary, when they put me on that Greyhound bus with $200 in my pocket, my brain went, and I would be doing things to instant relapse. Now, I never had any true recovery until I started coming to this program and getting that paper signed. When I first started coming here, I was just here to get that paper signed. But I heard a little bit, that turned into a lot of bit. Okay? It took me 59 years. And this is what happened, y'all. I'm on parole on a 30-year sentence that I got in 1995 for stealing 3 rolls of copper out of a plumbing truck. Okay? I'm down there cooking like a baked potato for 5 years and 8 months before I made parole. When I got out on parole, I relapsed, but I was only committing state jail felonies. So I would get put in the penitentiary for 6 months, and parole wouldn't violate me. I'd go do that time, but when I got that 2-year sentence on state jail, they sent me back to the penitentiary every time. I'd go back on that 3rd year. I've been going back on, I was supposed to be off that 30 on November 27th of 2025. I don't get off that 30 until 2032 because I lost so much good time for relapsing while I had less than half my sentence spent. So I like talking to people that have been to the county jail. I got tattoos all over me. I got them covered right now. Okay? Because, you know, when I was locked up, I'm going to share this with y'all. I got a very evil tattoo right here on my arm. Okay? And it's not God. Okay? It's Satan. I had it tattooed under my arm. And I'm telling you, I have cried like a bitch ass little baby because I thought I blasphemed the Holy Spirit by putting that on my arm. So that kept me getting high, because I knew I was just going to burn in hell. Okay? I did that for so long, y'all. But it took me on October 17th of 2021, when I violated my parole again, I had 4 cases pending in the jail. Okay? In the county jail. Okay? And I went to court 3 times. And guess what? Judge Gibbons was so backpacked because of COVID-19, that that infection, that she didn't see me. I went to court 3 times. And here's the biggest blessing that's ever came my way. When me and my attorney showed up to court that 3rd time, and that judge couldn't see me, that prosecutor came out here and said, well, Franks, the only good news I know is you and your attorney have been showing up to court every month, and she hasn't been able to see you. So I'm going to offer you this one time. I'm going to offer this one time only. I said, well, what is it? He says, you go down to the magistrate judge, I'm going to give you 5 years probation right now. Okay? Here I've been in the penitentiary 4 times, state jail 3 times, safe P 3 times. He got offered 5 years probation. When I could have went down and cooked on a 50-year sentence. I had 3 cases, possession under a gram. I had 1 to 4 million, and I got 5 years probation. But the reason why I'm stating this is when we go to treatment, when we get help, when we go to treatment, we have a counselor. Okay, and that counselor's paid whatever, 40 grand, 50 grand, whatever the category they are, to teach those people, patients, on what they need to do to get out of that treatment center. But guess what? They're going to show you how to get out of the treatment center. We're going to show you what you got to do when you get out of the treatment center. Because all the crap that we've been doing prior to that didn't work. Or we wouldn't be on probation 50 times. We wouldn't be going back to the county jail with no bond. Or we're trying to get a PR bond. Our parents won't even accept our calls from the county jail because we've been there so many times. That's where I was at, y'all. I'll share this. I'm just going to be kind of blunt on what's happened to me since August 1st of 2019, when I got that first possession case. Well, I'm going to back up a little bit more before the 2017. My mother lied to me about what my last name is. Okay, I was born under the name of Billy. My father's name was Billy Weldon Franks. He was in the Navy. But my mother, when her husband was out on the ship out in the Pacific Ocean, she came to the Mesquite Rodeo and got pregnant by another man. Okay? And my mom never changed. She got divorced. He divorced her. But she never got remarried again. My whole life, I've lived with a very beautiful mom that had who's a boyfriend. I never saw what a dad was. Okay? I knew what them boyfriends were. They would come pick my mom up, send me to the Thunderbird Bowling Rink to skate all night, and they'd go out and do what they were going to do. So from a very young age, Dwayne has been in the streets. The first 14 years of my life, I lived at Spring Valley and Coit in an apartment complex. Never had a house until I was 15 years old. My mother finally found a boyfriend that bought her house. So, I mean, just know, every one of y'all in here are no different than us. We may have on different clothes, we may be different color, may have different religion, spiritual, but guess what? Satan don't give a damn what color you are when it comes to that relapse and addiction. He doesn't care where you're from, where you were born, who your mom and dad is. They want to make sure you do another bump, another bump, another bump. That's all he wants. And guess what? When we're dumb enough to do those bumps over and over and over again, we're going to do more time, more time, more time. And then here's the kicker for me. When Dwayne was locked up in the penitentiary, especially if we got put on lockdown, I'd be laying in my bunk thinking about how stupid I was. I could write some of the most incredible poems. You wouldn't believe the stuff that I could do locked up. I could be a millionaire if I wouldn't have ever did the bump. Ain't nobody going to hire me. Okay? I'm on 100% mental disability from a motorcycle wreck I'm on. I get $1,283 a month. But guess what? I'm not a rich man, but this program, these people in here have made me spiritually wealthy. That's my sponsor right there. He's known me for a year and a half. And guess what? You wouldn't believe Dwayne has the oldest good cars you ever seen in your life. You know, I can't operate. Look, I'm going to read something to you on this too. And I know I kind of move around a lot, but guess what? I'm telling you, I can look you in the eye and I'm not going to tell you no lie. Okay? I'm better than any counselor you ever had. He's better than any counselor you ever had. He's better than any counselor you. When it comes down to the gut driving, the self-inspiration, not parole violation or probation violation or going to ag seg because of all the stupid stuff I did. There's some people in here that know a little bit about ag seg. Is that right, bro? Have you been locked up?
No, yeah.
What? How, sir? You know, I'm the person, when I got locked up, I started out in the basement in lockdown. Okay? Now I have to dig my way out of there. Okay? And if y'all ever been to Restream and get put in the basement now?
Worst
that's ag
hotel,
seg.
worst extended hotel out there.
Yeah, it's called motel. Motel, nobody. But you know, I just know my higher power, who's God, has blessed me with the ability to talk to inmates and patients. Okay, look, I do this on Monday night. Tomorrow night I'll be at the Hustles Union. Wednesday night I'll be at Salvation Army. First and third Thursday, second, fourth Saturday, we're at Cedar out in Irving. You know, it's amazing the amount of blessings. And you think, well, how in the hell do you pay all that gas? Well, I don't know. The blessings I have received by going and sharing my experience, strength, and hope. I got people calling me every day. Hey, Dwayne, you come over my yard. Hey, Dwayne, can you come fix my barn? Hey, Dwayne, can you take my dogs to the vet? Okay, they pay me to do stuff like that. I can't have a real job because I'm on mental disability. I'll share this with you. I've been on motorcycles my whole life. I got one now, shit. You know, people trip out when I tell them I'm on a motorcycle because on 11/11/11, November 11th, 2011, here's Dwayne. He got off work at 12 o'clock that day. And my homeboy called me and said, boy, I got to go to my house. We're going to develop tonight. This is back in 1995. Development was nothing like it is today. So I get on my motorcycle and I'm going down Centerville Road. You see that I got my hat on? That was my helmet. I never wore a helmet. And a car pulled out in front of me. I was highly intoxicated on methamphetamine. The wreck wasn't my fault. But had I not been so high, I probably could have avoided the wreck. Okay? But guess what? I hit the side of that car and I was in a coma for 205 days. I'm talking about Baylor Hospital ICU. Any of y'all been to ICU before? Okay. What's it like? What's it feel like?
Don't know.
We don't know what ICU feels like. It's called You See Me in ICU. Yeah. That's the way it goes. And you know, I know I'm kind of moving around, but I've been on mental disability since 2011. My mother lied to me about who I was, okay? When I was 23 years old, Dwayne took off, and when I was 23 years old, that was 1984. But I took off away from the house and nobody saw me or heard from me for 2 weeks. Everybody knew Dwayne thought he had overdosed and died, and they hadn't found his body yet. That's how bad of an addict I was. But when I came home, and this is what God does for us. My mother says, where have you been? We thought you were dead. Where have you been? I don't know what made me tell my mom this, but I said, I finally found out where my dad was. Did you get to meet your sister? Did you get to meet your two brothers? Did he introduce you to his wife? Oh, what are you talking about? I don't know what made me make that thing, but it made her tell on herself. And we knew nothing about that. And so my mother, when she figured out that Dwayne tricked his mother by making a statement about where he was, and she lied to him. She got caught in her lie of 23 years. Well, guess what? From that day on, my mother tried to make amends to me any way she could. The worst amends she made to me, when I was in prison, I went to counselor every week. When I needed an attorney or law library or law books when I was locked up, she would go to the law library and have them sent to me. I was a spoiled, rotten addict from my mother trying to make amends to me. So, and we're all guilty of this. How many of y'all got kids? Okay. How many of y'all are paying child support? How many of y'all got visitation of your kids? Look. Look.
If I go to Ellis County, I can see
Huh?
one. If I go to Ellis County, I can see one.
Hey, the kick is this. I got that bad tattoo here. I got a cross here. I got my daughter's name right here. I got one of my ex-wives' names right here. I've been married 3 times, I've never had a 1 year anniversary with none of them. You know, cause I be locked up. Okay, look, I've been divorced from the penitentiary 3 times. They call my name. Why shouldn't you go down to the captain's desk? Why, I ain't done nothing wrong, but they're calling for it. I go down there and there would be the sheriff's department from Huntsville serving me papers. I would cry like a bitch ass little baby when my wife divorced me again. And I was wondering why she wasn't answering the collect call. Or returning my mail, you know. And then after my last wife divorced me in 1998, and my homeboy in the penitentiary says, well, Wayne, if you've never had a 1 year anniversary, you might not want to get married again, right? He said, guess what? There's plenty of single women out there that don't want to be in no relationship. Okay, or married. Well, guess what? And forgive I'm pretty vulgar about it. So I became Captain Cedar. I would go to South Dallas, East Dallas, anywhere, Harry Hines Boulevard, and that was my home. That's where I could go find some girl doing the same bump I was, and then go do the stupid stuff. And the reason why I'm so graphic about this, let me shut up and change pages. When they gave me that probation, here's the most important simple prayer that I ever made. I said, God, don't let no judge, jury, parole officer, or probation officer tell me to get recovery ever again. Well, guess what? My parole officer put a leg monitor on my leg. It was a GPS monitor. She said, Mr. Franks, you can leave the house on Monday between 8 and 5. You can't check the mail for the rest of the week. I was on that GPS monitor where I couldn't even go out the front door. Okay, and then they told me, I said, well, what about smoking a cigarette? He said, well, let me see if we can get your garage opened up for you. You keep going to your garage. I said, well, no, my garage is part of my house. No, it's not part of your house on GPS. I said, wait a second. He says, is it part of your foundation? I said, yes. She said, well, we're going to do that did some type of psychological, one of those solar researches on my house, and I need you to go to my garage after being on it for a couple of months. And the reason why I say that, look, if you were to see my arms look like the pick and pull scrapyard. Okay? My arms are so scarred up. It's embarrassing for me to wear a short sleeve shirt. Especially when I'm coming to give my testimony. He said, oh, who's that guy there? Look at his arms. He's been doing what I've been doing. But guess what? It's been gone for 4 years, and tomorrow's gonna be 4 years and 4 months. The good news about this recovery today is I did it outside the penitentiary. Okay? I had many years when I was locked up. But as soon as back in the 80s, okay, I went to the penitentiary 4 times. My first 3 trips were in the 80s. And guess what? When you got out, when they released you in the 80s, you got a bus pass, $200 cash, and whatever money you still had on your account. So, when you walk out of the penitentiary, you got $200 in your pocket. All those years of thinking you would never use it again are going boom, 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 boom. And guess what will be on that bus? Prostitutes and dog dealers that were leaving from Huntsville that would ride on the bus with us to Dallas, and then they turn around and ride right back and make them. You know how much money they made off all these people that got out of the penitentiary with $200 in the pocket. That's why they dropped it down to $100. And that's why they dropped it down to $50. Now I think you get 25. You get 25 when you get released. You get the other 25 when you show up at parole. Okay? Because guess what? I would never ever show up. After that initial relapse, I would just go on and on until they got me. The good news about where we're at today, and y'all are in the treatment center. And here's the good news. You can bullshit your counselor, your mom, your dad, your wife, your kids. Stop. When you look in that mirror and say, you know what? It's time for me to grow up. It took me 59 years before I became a friggin' teenager. Okay, it took me that long. But boy, I can finally when I made that statement to don't let no judge, jury, parole officer, probation, and they put me on that leg monitor. Look, homeward bound, a bow, Wilmer, I've been to every treatment center in North Texas. Okay, I've done all of them. And guess what? When I signed that piece of paper, when they said you graduate, and you sign that piece of paper, you're not graduating. You're never gonna be cured from your addiction. What that shows you, and everybody that knows you, is you did what you were supposed to do for that 30, 60, 96 months. You followed the rules. But the real kicker is when you get out, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna tell you this. How many of y'all got a cell phone? How many of y'all, they got your cell phone and you can't use it? So no one has a cell phone on that they can call anybody right now, right? Uh-oh, leave the phone, man. I'm kidding. No,
he's just-
I'm kidding. Because guess what? For me, this was my worst nightmare. You know whose number I will never cut off my phone? My dealer, my girlfriend, or my homeboys that had dope. Okay? If you will delete those numbers and put them on the where you can't track them down on your cloud, you can take it to T-Mobile, MetroCare, whoever. Tell them to delete them. Because guess what? It's hard for us as addicts to get rid of everybody that we know that would put up with our crap. You know, there's a lot of people out there that we were in our addiction. If we had $4.28 in our pocket, they might give us a dime. Okay? And guess what? I go commit another felony to get another dime. I would go commit a felony to feel good for 20 minutes and go do 5 years in the penitentiary. Come on, man. You know, I just want everybody to know, you know what, that old crazy son of a gun, he might know what he's talking about. You know I'm kind of blunt about what I say, but the good news about Dwayne, the only people I can never be a pastor at a church, okay? Please excuse me, I'm at a church. But God's blessed me with the ability to talk to inmates and patients. Because guess what? You can't bullhorn me. I can identify things just on how we're sitting, what we're thinking, you know, where we've been, where we're going. How many of y'all are on parole? Dang. No, rookies.
I'm in this last year.
How many of y'all are on probation? Okay. How many of y'all went to Homeward Bound on your own? Ooh, your car's out the parking lot at Homeward Bound? Oh, okay. Where's your car? Oh, that man got it, huh? Oh, yeah, GWI.
Free.
Yeah. Oh, you don't want to be a veteran, you want to be a veteran, that's good. You know, hey, y'all ever heard the word misdemeanor? You know, the more NA groups I miss, the meaner I'm gonna get. Okay, just remember that. When you go to NA, AA, CA, do that 90 and 90. Say, guess what? Maybe that old son of a gun knows what he's talking about. So I'm gonna try this for 90 days. You try it for 90 days and you don't like it, I'll see you at Center for Salvation Army. You know how many people I run into at these other treatment centers that I met here? Or I met them at Cedar and they're here, or at Salvation Army, I met them here. I love it when I go to, hey, Dwayne, weren't you just at Homeward Bound a month ago? Yes, sir. What brought you here? Well, when I got out, I just wanted to go try one more drink. I wasn't gonna do no dope, I was gonna do some alcohol. Alcohol is a drug, so is pot. Okay, just know that. Look, here's another, I'm gonna tell y'all about weed. Yeah, I started smoking weed when it was Acapulco Gold and Colombian Redbud, okay, back in the 70s. Well, now y'all got the that's got 30 horsepower. You know, it only had 1 horsepower when I was smoking. Now people are taking 1 hit and going into a coma.
Yeah.
Okay? And here's another thing too. All you alcoholics that think that alcohol is not a drug, that you get a little drowsy and you start weaving when you're driving, I'm gonna do me a line of meth. Maybe I'll try it better. Okay, so people mix methamphetamine with alcohol, marijuana with alcohol. The good news about me going to NA, AA, CA, all these 12-step groups, I get to hear a lot of testimony. I get to hear what the person having to go get that, just for today sticker or the, you know. Guess what? Don't ever give up on getting that just for today key tag, okay? Because guess what? We're only in recovery just for today. Everyone in this room, whoever woke up before me this morning has more recovery than I do. If you woke up at 5 o'clock, my alarm went off at 6. You got more recovery than I do today. Those years don't mean nothing. Because we got people with, look, I've got a lady at my friend that's got 43 years of not drinking alcohol. She's 93 years old, and guess what? She's at group 5 times a week. You know, she comes to my freedom group, and guess what? Them youngster ladies, they want to go talk to Fran. Okay, because guess what? If you live to be 93, 63, hell, if we make it till we're 43, we're blessed. How many of y'all are under the age of 30? Oh, yeah. Well, okay, you know why I asked that? You got one man under 30. How old are you? 29 and a half?
You got it?
Huh?
You got it?
But the reason why I say that is there's a lot of people in here under 30 that have the opportunity to get what these people here, these old folks, okay, it took me until I was 59 years old. When you could get it when you're 29, okay, or 19. You know, look, I wish I had, I've showed this a bunch. When me and my mother moved to Garland, I was 14 and a half years old. Okay, when we moved out of an apartment, we moved into a house. Well, my mom was so sick and tired of my addiction when I was a kid, guess what? She put me in a treatment center when I was 14 years old. So, that was in 1974, excuse me, 1977. My mother put me in a treatment center called the DAP, Palmer Drug Abuse Program. And the kicker about the DAP is they had these leather, they had a marble in the middle of it wrapped in leather. And those were the coolest little bracelets. But you had to earn days of recovery to get that bracelet. Well, here I am, bullhorn my way trying to get the bracelet, okay? But guess what? My mother sent me there for 4 days. And then my mother was at work the next week, and her supervisor came up to her, and she took her. Have y'all ever heard of the magazine called Scene Magazine in the Dallas Morning News? Well, here's my mother. Her boss brought her Scene Magazine, and her son was on the cover of Scene Magazine, sitting in a beanbag, smoking a cigarette in a treatment center. And they're saying, Beverly, is your son a drug addict? He's 14 years old. And back in the 70s, that was a very young age to be a drug addict. But it's amazing. I got that picture still on my phone. I like looking at that. I like sharing it with people. But just one thing I got to emphasize to people getting out of treatment. Everything that you hear in here, there's a reason why you hear it and understand it and you listen. You know, I've seen people that never listen to one word of what we were saying. And guess what? Those are the ones I'll see at the Salvation Army next month, or at Cedar in 2 months. Because guess what? Here's 2 places that will never close: Parkland Hospital and Dallas County Jail. Okay? Because guess what? When we do that intoxicated manslaughter, that breaks our heart. And guess what? There's been a lot of people that have went out and tried to just overdose and die because they killed somebody in a DWI. Okay? There's people out there that will, intoxicated manslaughter is a tough way to say goodbye to this freedom. And guess what? People with DWIs now, back in the 80s, when you went to the penitentiary with a DWI, you made parole very easily if you didn't break any rules. It ain't easy to make parole now on DWI, but so many people have died by people using alcohol as their drug of choice, or transferring from heroin or fentanyl to alcohol. Okay, how many of y'all have done fentanyl? How many of y'all have done heroin? Okay. How many of y'all have gone to jail for any of those? And guess what? You know, here's one thing I can say. You haven't been to jail yet? You better make treatment your county jail. Okay? And get out of treatment and stay out. Because guess what? We have the ability to go share our experience, strength, and hope. I don't care if you're 29, 59, 69, it doesn't matter what your age is. The fact that you're able to share, here's another thing too. When y'all get out of treatment this time, and your mom and dad recognize this new personality, okay, this new person that they haven't seen in 20 years. If you're calling you mom, calling you dad for the first time in 3 years, having the ability to go visit them. Look, when I got out of the penitentiary in 2001, you know what my visitation was? I could drive to Houston, Texas on the first and third Saturday of the month. And I got to drive to Houston, and I got to spend 5 hours with my daughter at her mother's house. I couldn't take her to, Chipotle's or which those little kids, restaurants where they go play at Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, I couldn't take my kids to go do any of that. And I did that for a long time, but when I relapsed, I never went back. My daughter's going to be 38 years old in October. I haven't spoken to my daughter in 7 years. And she lives in Duncanville, right down the road. And it's amazing. When my daughter was a baby, her father was in the penitentiary. And so her mother met another man that raped her. That man just passed away. She still don't want to see her dad. And that's one of the things that, I have to deal with every day. But guess what? There's not one shot of dope that's going to take that feeling away. We might feel good for a couple of minutes, relapsing and think we're killing the pain of all the things that we did. But I promise you, man, during that 90 and 90, when you get out of here, how many of y'all are going to be in Dallas County when y'all get out of here? How many of y'all going to be in Tarrant County? Oh, there's no Fort Worth people over here. So I know some people come from like Austin and places like that. Is that correct? Where does most of the people from Homeward Bound? What county do they come from? Dallas County?
Mostly Dallas, with Austin. Yeah, with Austin, it's like 1,000 per day because they don't have in-state treatment centers, so they have to pay out of pocket or through insurance. So
Are
they
you
tend
talking
to
about the governor of Texas doesn't have a treatment center?
up in Austin. Isn't that shocking?
Well, there's no question, Travis County does have a lot of issues with homeless people too. How many of y'all have been homeless before you got into treatment? Wow. Man, think about that. But I'm glad we had that. Raise another hands right there. Because you know what, my people at AA and NA, Dwayne doesn't like handing a homeless person $5. Because I know when I was out there and I was panhandling, that $5 was for nothing but for some dope, okay, or a pack of cigarettes. I did sometimes buy a pack of cigarettes. But it really discouraged me to hand somebody $5. And my sponsor before Reggie, told me, he says, Dwayne, if you have any concern about giving somebody some cash, go buy them a hamburger at McDonald's. Go buy them a box of fries and something to drink. Give them something to eat. Because guess what? Homeless people, when they're able to panhandle and get, let's just say $20 a day, okay? But most of them get no telling what they get. Depending on what the weather is, if it's real cold outside, they're gonna be standing out there shaking, so you'll give them a 20 instead of a 10, okay? And I'm just telling you, I've seen it, I've experienced it, I did it. But here's one thing I know about the homeless people. In Dallas County, we have 3 or 4 places in downtown Dallas that take Life on Sunshine, Life Nexus. Okay, that's a place that they take homeless people at Nexus.
Austin Street Shelter.
Oh, yeah. But there's a lot of places where homeless person can go. But guess what? Most of the homeless people that are out there, they're not ready to go to get some help. They want you to give them all the money you can. So I can't say don't give a homeless person some money, but if you want to hand them a cheeseburger, that makes them think about, their homelessness. I know I'm not really making a lot of sense on that, kind of change phases on that, but there's no question. The fact that you're in the treatment center right now, I'm going to read this. I should have followed this rule. I showed it to my sponsor. Okay. This is what I did, because it says, what is the best testimony to give to patients that are initially starting out in treatment? The best testimony to give patients initially starting treatment is a reverse testimonial or a patient journey story. This type of story begins with the patient's initial fear or pain, follows the journey through the challenges of treatment, and concludes with a specific positive outcome. And then I'm getting close, I'm sorry. This is examples of effective testimonials. Addressing fear of treatment, I was terrified of starting chemotherapy, but the nurses at this clinic treated me like family and made sure I was comfortable every step, every way. Focusing on life improvement. Thought my chronic back pain would stop me ever gardening again. After 3 months of treatment, I'm back in my garden and pain-free. Wow. Yes, sir.
Just excuse for a second, anyone, desire baptism, for the start, go back.
Hey, it's an incredible free bath. I promise you. God will bless you so well with your belief. I promise you.
So in about 6 minutes,
We need a show of hands.
we're gonna be going back to see if the sister that's been baptized, okay? Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'm gonna read this part and I'm gonna shut up because I don't want to talk to Holly. Highlight and support. The doctor actually listened and took time to explain each step of my treatment, which made me feel confident in my decisions. For maximum impact, these stories should be shared via video, if possible, as it allows new patients to see the sincerity in the speaker's voice and expression. I'm gonna share this with you too. If your car is impounded, you don't have transportation, you still have no reason not to go to Zoom and go to NA every day. We got so many Zoom meetings on NA that you can go to group at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever your categories. And you can go to NA, CA, AA, Sex Addicts Anonymous, they're all there. I mean, every category that you can, huh?
If I may, there's an app called Everything AA. You can, filter everything out to your Zooms, your time, language, ASL, everything.
Cool. I appreciate that. And I'm gonna share this with you, I'm gonna shut up. Okay. You know, my mother, when I was 23 years old, she really tried to make amends to me, okay? And Leonard Skinner came out with a song called The Simple Man. Okay, and that was a mother speaking to her son. And it says, come sit beside me, my only son, and you're gonna see what the good Lord has done. You can do this every day. Don't forget to get on your hands and don't forget to pray. I'm telling you, folks, when you get on your hands and knees at night and say a 5-minute prayer, when you wake up in the morning, thank God for your alarm clock going off and waking you up. Because that way you lay in that bed for a couple of minutes, and I promise you, you're gonna be up here holding this microphone if you work the steps, get a sponsor, and go to groups. I'm gonna shut up with this. Everyone in this room has been an addict of the worst kind. Everyone in this room has allowed the alcohol, the drugs, the sex, and gambling to control their body, their soul, even their minds. The extremes that they would go to every day, just take another drink or do another hit. I don't know about all you other addicts, but this one right here about to die. I'm gonna quit. But then one day I started searching for all the reasons on how this addiction became so crazy in me. All the answers are very simple, my friends. It's in the books, the steps, the sponsor, and the Bible that I always neglected to work, get, and read. I share that poem to you from my heart. Stop letting that drug addiction keep tearing your life apart. Get on your hands and knees every day and ask God to forgive you for all the sins that addictions made in their life every day. And you ask God to forgive those sins. There's another prayer, you better end. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, higher power. Whichever one it is, let's end that prayer. Amen and amen. I promise you, folks, you'll be holding this microphone